Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive insights, and wisdom, and we go as guided. And whoo, boy, are these eclipse energies and Mercury retrograde wreaking havoc on this Virgo. So, anyways, welcome, Kiki. Um, let's just jump in. There's so much to cover. So, main energies. We have the final number 3 this month, March. Difficult beginnings, persevere, never so true. 26, controlled power, amplify. And this is about controlled power, how we amplify our light and our innate empowerment. It's a 9-year, all year long, so small restraint, surrender. It becomes a 20, which is contemplation, view. It's a higher view. It's getting our face off the glass to pull back enough to see the bigger picture, to see through the illusions. And this will have to do with Neptune. It's at that final anaretic degree, and on Sunday it moves into Aries for the first time in 164 years. And lastly, it's number 2, it's the receptive, it's the divine feminine, and for us to reflect. So we have all of these energies playing out, and then right into the astrological influences. There is just a ton happening in this month of March that is going to continue to ripple out. So let's jump into that. Here are the astrological influences, and its theme is a thorough purge hyphen release. So this and why. Here's there are 5 CAZIMIS. So the sun and Saturn, and a CAZIMI is when a planet is in the heart of the sun. It's next to it. And so we have the sun and Saturn CAZIMI. It's followed by the full moon total lunar eclipse that occurred on the 14th of March, followed by the sun and the north node CAZIMI, then the sun Neptune CAZIMI. Then we had the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. It's on the 20th of March. It's followed then by a sun Venus CAZIMI, a sun Mercury CAZIMI, then the new moon solar eclipse, which is coming up on Saturday the 29th. The next day followed by Neptune entering Aries. All of these 5 CAZIMIs, the eclipses, the vernal equinox, all of this is screaming that theme, a thorough purge, a thorough release. And let's look at the chart. This is the new moon solar eclipse in Aries astrological chart for the event. And you see at the top, there's literally the midheaven and Saturn are conjunct. And then you have the north node, you have Venus retrograde, Neptune, Mercury retrograde, the sun and the moon together, Chiron, all of this activity. And then you see to the left is Uranus. Uranus is the higher mind. It is expect the unexpected. And so here it is in this prominent, it's a sextile to Saturn. There's a sextile to Mars. Sextiles are harmonious aspects. And then Mars is trine Saturn. So there's a lot of positiveness, positive energies that are playing out here. However, it's the release, it's the burning away. All of these planets being in the heart of the sun, it's this burning away all that has been to move forward, to receive what is, what's before us, what's happening before us. And this was very interesting because we were off last week. So the show, which began on March 12th, which had to do with the lunar eclipse, the main theme for that was Be Ready, a total lunar eclipse, hummingbird medicine. So, and Matthew 25 played a role, the beginning part of Matthew 25. Well, now we come forward 2 weeks later. Eclipses happen in pairs and they're 2 weeks apart. So, our main theme for this eclipse is ready or not. So, first it was be ready, and now it's ready or not. A partial solar eclipse, dog medicine. And you will see about truth and devotion and loyalty and acts of service, and how this moon takes a bite out of the sun, this partial solar eclipse where the moon takes a bite out of the sun. And it's about this taking a bite out of crime. It could not be more perfect. So let me just go to that because it has to do with our main image. You see the bloodhound and the smoking pipe, and so take a bite out of crime is a slogan and campaign associated with McGruff the crime dog, a cartoon character used by the National Crime Prevention Council in the United States to promote crime prevention and community safety. McGruff is a bloodhound character, often dressed like Sherlock Holmes, who is the mascot for the National Citizens Crime Prevention Campaign. The campaign aims to educate the public about crime prevention methods and encourage citizen involvement in keeping their communities safe. Take a bite out of crime is the slogan used to promote the campaign, encouraging people to take action against crime. McGruff was introduced in 1979, and the campaign has been active for decades, with the goal of helping people protect themselves and their families from crime. The moon takes a bite out of the sun. Ready or not, a partial solar eclipse, dog medicine. This keeping us safe, recognizing crime, crime prevention. When we see it, report it, stand up to it, do what's right. And this theme, I love this image, this bloodhound with the smoking pipes and Sherlock Holmes, and all of this playing a role because we're seeing a lot of illicit behavior right now. A lot of things that we must not turn our eyes from, that we must face head on, and within our own individual lives, our own individual relationships, and so forth, and the greater whole. Because again, there's this great purge, this great release that these eclipses, and certainly this partial solar eclipse and the moon, the divine feminine taking a bite out of the divine masculine. The moon takes a bite out of the sun, and this take a bite out of crime. So this is playing at the moment. And I just want to go to astrologer Chani Nicholas. It's her the weekly issue number 59. And the subject line is, "This is just the beginning." Prepare for shakeups, surprises, and crash outs. This week brings the final eclipse of the season and the last one in Aries for a long while. Remember, eclipses have a tendency to speed up storylines, poke pain points, deliver power surges, and dish out upsets to authority figures, inner and outer. And the world's plot twists will get even weirder when Neptune moves from Pisces into Aries on the 30th of March, first time in 164 years. The last time it was in Aries was the American Revolution and the ending of slavery. Abraham Lincoln was ushered in to the presidency of the United States. So you see where these things, where the ideals with Neptune and Pisces emotion and feelings, and Neptune the high, the higher ideals. When Neptune moves into Aries, we take all of that action, we take all of that desire for a better world, a better place, and it becomes actionary. So the American Civil War ended slavery. This is how we advanced, how we raised the bar, how the ideal became reality. And so Chani concludes, this transition ignites a new cycle of idealism, creativity, and illusions that will take us all the way to 2039. Because Neptune in Aries, it's about 14 years per sign. A fresh chapter in history is beginning, and you are part of shaping it. Dream head first. And so there's this beautiful opportunity for all of us to move forward, and for the ideals that have been percolating. And you see it. There's mass demonstrations, there's mass protests. This old way of control and power and subjugation and oppression and suppression. No, no more, no longer. We the people, Aquarian, matriarchal, this era is about doing right, doing good. It is about acts of service, and we'll get to that in a minute. So let's jump in, and I just want to go to our mantra. Our mantra is truth is my devotion. And this image is of a double exposure of a holm oak. And in the Bible, the holm oak, also known as the evergreen oak, or is often associated with eternal life, divine power, and the unchanging nature of God due to its ability to remain green year-round, serving as a symbol of strength, stability, and enduring faith. The holm oak, being an evergreen, represents the constancy and faithfulness of God, of the unseen, who remains steadfast regardless of the seasons of life. In biblical times, oaks, including the holm oak, were often associated with sacred sites and places of worship, seen as symbols of strength and stability. So there's this beautiful image that goes with our mantra, truth is my devotion, because it is about truth and devotion. It is about seeking truth, speaking truth to power, speaking truth within our own lives. And you'll see as well, there's this, the truth will set you free. We're going to cover all of this. But in this, with our mantra, truth is my devotion. And it is also, devotion as our key word. And devotion is a commitment to a purpose. Love, loyalty, care, or enthusiasm for a person, activity, or cause. Prayers, religious worship, or observance. Profound dedication or earnest attachment to a cause, a person, or a deity. The fact, quality, or state of being devoted. So this is talking about being devoted to truth. Truth is my devotion. It's about not a truth, not my truth or your truth, but the truth, the way. And thereby how, and you'll see how in dog medicine and in astrology by Lauren and all of these themes in this ready or not, a partial solar eclipse, dog medicine, how this, a devotion to truth. Because my word, when you look at all around the globe, even in current events that are playing out, and people are bringing the receipts, they're showing them, no, here's the truth. When people are outright lying. So don't lie to yourselves. Don't lie in this moment. It's about truth, because the truth will set you free. Lying is a shadow aspect. It's an old, it's of the previous era, and it serves no one. There's a beautiful quote that says, "The truth becomes a part of your past, a lie your future," because the truth speaks for itself. But the lie you have to keep remembering, you have to keep retelling. It becomes a part of your future. Well, that's no way to live. So let's look at dog medicine. And this is from Jess Hagen at Urban Healers of LA. What is the meaning of the dog spirit animal totem? At first glance, loyalty seems like a virtue to always strive for. But this animal spirit medicine needs careful navigation and a bit of training to function well. Too much loyalty and service to the outside world to gain approval, aka safety, requires us to muzzle our own interests, which can have dire consequences. Putting our needs aside for others may look like a virtue. It is certainly encouraged as a virtue by the outside world, who applaud us for giving them all our energy. But this externalized loyalty at the expense of our inner loyalties leads to deep resentments that can result in nothing short of violent rebellion to break free of a self-made muzzle. This is when we give ourselves over and we forget to give to ourselves. We forget to listen to our soul source connection, our soul. And so while it may look wonderful and good on the outside, it's not great on the inside. And it can be destructive, and it can represent this rebellion, this violent rebellion to break free. We're seeing this. We're seeing this violent rebellion to break free. Neptune in Aries, American Revolution, the ending of slavery, Abraham Lincoln. The dog spirit animal totem asks us never to muzzle our soul. Our soul, our interests, our passions, our optimism as our most loyal and loving best friend. Follow your passions and watch how they miraculously lead to deeper, more authentic social bonds founded on mutual respect and healthy relating rather than toxic service dependency. It is not selfish to be self-focused because what the soul wants most of all is connection and friendship. Helping another person out of a belief that they cannot improve without us is a covert ego trip, holding that person in a victim role for the purpose of augmenting our own misguided role as helper. See, our greatest empowerment is to allow another their soul's journey. It may be challenging, it may be difficult, but again, when we lie to ourselves and say, oh no, they can't do it without us, or I must do it for them or with them, it's an illusion. That's Neptunian. It's the shadow aspect of Neptune. Here, it's Neptune and Aries. We're moving out of the gate. It's the first sign. It's of the zodiac. The sun shining on your face. Each of us must step up. We must rise. And we must do it independently. And yet, when we do so, it is collective. It is a collective action or a wave, a ripple that just ripples out. But this whole, oh, let me save you and all that, no. No, 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 no. No more. Because it gives us this we feel useful when we are helpful, but we cannot need another person to need us to satisfy our own need to feel valued. That's an inside job. Our self-worth, our self-value, that's an inside job. Just goes on. Another aspect of the dog spirit animal totem speaks of the dangers of group loyalty and how it can often lead to a false sense of innocence that compels violence in service to a group. This herd mentality, this group loyalty to a person or a community can bring such a powerful sense of belonging and purpose that it can be quite intoxicating. A need to preserve feelings of safety and belonging can often hold us in service to a destructive community, even against our own inner knowing. See, this is when we're in unity, community, unity, that can be all well and good and wonderful, unless or until it is at the expense of our inner knowing, that inner truth, that true north that tells us otherwise, that says, maybe belonging to this group or to this action or to this cause, maybe that's not in my best interest, or and especially if I'm doing so at the expense of truth. Am I choosing my community, my team, whatever it may be, when the truth is staring me right in the face? That becomes problematic. Jess Hagen continues, harmonizing with our environment feels good, but dog is a tracker and asks that you keep a close watch on where activities are leading. What is really being said by that leader? Do you agree? Where do the ideas of this group lead? Do not let a desire to belong compel you to take actions that are out of sync with your own inner peaceful nature. Aligning our loyalties to always strive towards an inner strength of character will prevent us from aligning with a misguided belief system that would seek to use us in a destructive way. Herd mentality. We must think for ourselves. We must listen to our soul source connection. We must listen, and it's always pure. It's always true north. Welcome, Kiki. She is saying, I'm expecting fewer boos when I protest on Saturday. See, this is about listening, rising up, and recognizing when truth speaks, it's not being defended. It's not ego, mind, personality driven. The truth is a knowing. It's innate within us. And so it's to be mindful of the leaders that we give, external leaders, people that we give our power away to. And then we continue to believe or make excuses for them when everything in us is telling us this is wrong. This isn't right. This is counter to who I am. This is why the dog spirit animal totem guides us to always align our loyalties with spiritual values of peace, love, and acceptance rather than physical groups. When groups come together with a commitment to align with values of compassion and to track what is true, even as it twists and turns, a long-lasting community of support is possible. It's because you're willing to see the truth, to accept it, even when your team or an individual makes the wrong call or falls. But because you're willing to acknowledge that, you're willing to apologize, you're willing to own a tone release, you're willing to own what was less than, then, and you can align with that, well then, long-lasting community of support is possible. Loyalty to a single person or to a group at the exclusion of another person or group can often cause the delicate medicine teaching of the dog nation to become imbalanced. It is very easy to have too much loyalty to a person or a group in an unconscious hope that doing so will keep you safe. Truth keeps us safe. The truth. Again, not a truth, not defending bad behavior because, well, it's the team that I'm associated with or the group. No, you're doing a massive disservice to yourself and to others and to the whole of the whole when you deny truth, when you can't accept truth. Truth is my devotion. When truth-seeking is not at the heart of a group endeavor, and members are asked to ignore or deny what they see and sense, it is only a matter of time before the structure of the group falters. Listen to the warning bark of the dog spirit animal totem and ask your inner own best friend what is needed at this time. Harmony for harmony's sake is dangerous. When we are loyal to virtues of truth, peace, calm, and patience, we align with a warrior's code of conduct that makes no assumptions about how something might unfold, and which determines in every new situation what is right and what is wrong. It's about seeing truth, perpetuating truth, not defending a team against what could be plainly illicit behavior just because it's the team or the group you belong to. That's when it's most important to stand up, to stand out. Welcome, Olivia. Welcome, Alicia. Jess Hagan continues, can you acknowledge to yourself what is true even when it hurts? Even when it points out mistakes you wish you had not made or that another made? Loyalty to the universal truth of reality enables us to stop wanting approval from an external source that will always fall short of support. We cannot stay safe in a world that is designed to change, but we can stay true in it, and this will keep us as safe as it is possible to be. See, it's about staying true to ourselves, to the truth, to your soul source connection. Your soul is true north. This is what's important. That is what keeps us safe. Being loyal to tracking what is true at any given time does ourselves a favor and arms us with a sharp awareness of every shift and turn on our unpredictable life journey. Denial of what is true out of loyalty to a social system is not safe. Physical attachments are how we enjoy life. Bonding with people, things, and ideas is how we expand and grow. We're in reciprocity with one another. So it is how we mirror to one another. There is nothing wrong with opening our hearts to a person and allowing ourselves to be influenced by them to discover for ourselves. That is the key, to discover for ourselves who we are and where we stand. It may be time to acknowledge where our sense of loyalty to a person or a group is blocking our sense of loyalty to our inner knowing. This is not about sacrificing ourselves, the truth of ourselves, the purity of ourselves for a cause. It's about aligning with it, aligning with the purity and the truth of ourselves. The Dog Nation is a deeply loving clan, and we have in dog medicine a deep joy in being of service. When in balance, the dog spirit animal totem will never ask you to suffer or make sacrifices. Dog energy is a master of forgiving and forgetting. I mean, anyone who has had dogs in their lives, they are so excited to see you. Even when you scold them and reprimand them, they come back and they want your love and devotion and they give it. They forget. They give it to you willingly. DOG. Reverse it. GOD. There's a reason dog is man's best friend. God is man's best friend. Your greatest cheerleader, the master weaver, the host, the all that is. And here it's saying, see, I'll never ask you to sacrifice yourself, to suffer or make sacrifices. I want the best for you. Dogs' greatest joy is to be of service, to facilitate safety, harmony, and respect. It's not to harm others. They are fierce protectors of what they love. And dog spirit medicine wants you to remember that you are always and forever a part of this cosmic family. You belong here with all of us. You have a place in this world which can only be filled by you. You are important to the evolution of the global clan of Earth. People may hurt us. However, staying safe will not keep us safe. Dog says, get into the fray. There's Kiki. Get into the fray. Stand your ground and be who you are in this dynamic at hand. You belong here with everyone else, even if they might disagree. Ultimately, all hearts lead to truth. At our nature, at our center, love, true north, truth, devotion to truth. All hearts lead to truth. Loyalty is not an obligation. It is a joy. It is something given. It's not an obligation. It's given. And devotion should never feel tense, painful, dangerous, or unethical. Your most important loyalties lie with loyalty to yourself and your soul self. Do what is needed to stay true to your highest self and join a spirit family of other brave souls just like you who always belong in the truth-seeking tribe. Call on the spirit of dog medicine to remind you of who you are and to remind you of what's at stake. Because we're either living in a reality of truth where truth matters, telling the truth matters, and how the truth becomes a part of your past because it speaks for itself. The lie, your future. So you're either in the camp of telling lies and perpetuating lies and propagating in mistruths, half-truths, alternate realities, or you're not. And this eclipse period, this time, we're all this year, 2025, within 18 months, end of last year, 2024, into early 2026, so just shy of 18 months, all the outer major planets change signs. It's massive. And you can see the epicness, Pluto in Aquarius, not since the French-American industrial revolutions. Neptune moving into Aries, not since the American Civil War and the ending of slavery, this liberation, the setting free. So we are coming, astrology is cyclical. It's not identical, but it is cyclical. And so here we are again coming up. We're alive at this moment to tell the truth, to speak up for truth, to speak up for the best of what we all want out of life, what we want our world to be. And one would say our parents, our grandparents, the current parents, we teach children, we were taught that the truth, telling the truth, knowing right from wrong, that it matters. Why would we ever want to abandon it as adults? And why, for that matter, the hypocrisy of it, why teach your children to tell the truth and know right from wrong if you as the adult only betrays your own teachings? It doesn't make sense. And this time is imploring us. Dog medicine. This be ready, and now ready or not. Because here it is, the threshold, we're here, it's upon us. And we're seeing it, we're witnessing it in major national events in the news, and how people are being called out for the lies. And people themselves are standing up and saying, no more, this is not the world we want. And it's not the one we want to inherit, and it's not the one we want to leave behind. So we're at these choice points. And the moon takes a bite out of the sun, this take a bite out of crime. It's about witnessing the crimes that are being perpetrated and speaking up, speaking out, not accepting them, and doing so as a community. Because remember, McGruff, this wonderful bloodhound, Sherlock Holmes bloodhound, and the smoking pipes and the whole thing. Yeah, it's about the community coming together to safeguard themselves against crime. That's what's so awesome about this. So now let's move to Astrology by Lauren. And between the two eclipses and a Neptune and Aries preview, and there's a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt: "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that a thing worth doing is worth the risk." It's about facing our fears. It is about, and I'm just going to go to this because they're bringing me to, it's number 2 from the unseen. They said, "The truth will set you free." And so before we go to Astrology by Lauren, and this is from John 82. "The truth will set you free" is a statement from John 8:32, where Jesus told his followers that knowing the truth, particularly about salvation, will liberate them from the bondage of sin. In John 8:32, Jesus says, "And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The freedom Jesus speaks of is not political or social, but spiritual, offering deliverance from the power and penalty of sin. It's about conscious awakening. It's about spiritual awakening. It's about the truth, the way. It's not about making excuses. It's not about, you know, um, promulgating fear and lies and mistruths and misdeeds. Jesus identifies himself as the way and the truth and the life in John 14:6, implying that knowing and following him is the path to true freedom. Jesus, the second, the New Testament, this new covenant, it's all about love and truth and acts of service and good deeds, doing right. And here, this is Jesus identifies himself as the way, the truth, and the life. The, not a. Jesus also states in John 8:31 that those who abide in my word, meaning they follow his teachings, are truly his disciples. This isn't a religious discussion or comment or commentary. It's spiritual in nature. It's the fact that there's a right and wrong way, to be. And that it's the choices that we make that determine your character is your fate, that determine your experiences, and whether that's, there's no wrongs or right. Everything's divine and neutral in the universe, but it's an awareness to say, and yet, how do you wish to live your life? With purity, with goodness, with kindness, with love, with empathy and compassion. And you'll see how Matthew 25 plays in here again. Because the truth will set you free. It's about spiritual liberation. And here we are again at this moment, from Exodus to American French industrial revolutions to American Civil War and the liberation, the ending of enslavement, of slavery. We're being given an opportunity to rise up, to evolve to a higher octave, and to purposely choose it. To not stand in the shadow any longer. To not perpetuate mistruths, lies, the old way, because there's a new one before us. So, Astrology by Lauren. Welcome to the wild retrograde dance of Mercury and Venus. On Saturday, this was last Saturday, we have the inferior conjunction of Venus, and on Tuesday, the inferior conjunction of Mercury. This will be when the Sun, Mercury, or Venus, and the Earth are lined up in such a way that they are engulfed in the rays of the Sun, the CAZIMIS, leaving the sky for a period, after which they will each return as morning stars. So this burning away, this complete purge, this burning away of the old. And they return as morning stars. Like a new dawn, these inferior conjunctions of Mercury and Venus are like their dark new moon phases, in which seed ideas and desires are being planted within our hearts, setting the tone for the next 19 months for Venus and the next 4 months for Mercury, because they're retrograde periods. This is when they happen. Mercury goes retrograde about every 3, sometimes 4 times a year. Venus about every 18, 19 months, 18, 19 months. When planets come to the very heart of the sun, as they will this week, something extraordinary happens. It's as if these planets are being admitted into the throne room, the very heart of the sun, where they briefly find favor with the magistrate and become regent for the day. We call these exact conjunctions with the sun cazimi. Both Mercury and Venus are in the sign of Aries, a sign associated with the advent of spring in the northern hemisphere, a time of nascent growth, when the buds come forth and the small flowers and migrant birds dare to breathe color into the gray tableau that once was winter. Aries is a sign of initiative, of new beginnings, courage, and leadership. It is about taking the first step of the rest of our lives, and we are doing so this year with the seeds of Mercury and Venus in our hearts. This is the midpoint of the 2 retrograde phases of Mercury and Venus. They do this dance simultaneously. They both stationed for their retrograde phases near or at the same degree of the solar eclipse on March 29th. So they're doing so right at this degree that's coming up for this partial solar eclipse. Ready or not, dog medicine. And when they make their direct stations, they will do so opposite the degree of the lunar eclipse on March 14th. Be ready. A total lunar eclipse, hummingbird medicine. And as they both make their direct stations, they will also both be conjunct the north node of the moon. The north node is where humanity is going. In Astrology by Lauren, she says, this is deep. Whatever is being sown with these eclipses is bound to have huge karmic ramifications. Our choices and decisions have consequences, both individually and collectively in this weather. Betwixt and between the eclipses. From the show on March 12th, Be Ready, a total lunar eclipse, hummingbird medicine. Number 2 from the unseen was Read Between the Lines. Betwixt and between. Betwixt and between means not fully or properly either of 2 things. And this was that whole message of getting off the fence. No more riding the fence. No more, straddling the line and hemming and hawing and I'm in, I'm out. No. And here's Astrology by Lauren 2 weeks later. Betwixt and between the eclipses, we are reaping and sowing and moving ourselves about the playing board of life. Chess, not checkers. We've talked about this. And so is a man's fate born. As both Mercury and Venus make their inferior conjunctions this week, they are also sextile Lord Pluto, who is beckoning us to discover our own inner magical power that allows us to take control over the destiny of our lives. See, this, we're being implored. Here's Pluto, the Lord of the underworld, bringing all of this up into the light and bringing it into, and now Pluto in Aquarius. We the people, what's at your center? Your divine nature, your soul source connection, your heart, truth. And it's saying, it's beckoning us to discover our own inner magical power that allows us to take control over the destiny of our lives. It's not external. It's not some leader or group or something. It's about listening to your soul source connection, taking control of the destiny of our lives. When you feel yourself if you feel yourself inexorably drawn in a certain direction towards a specific person, an idea, a thought, that which is irresistible, it's a knowing, it's a pull, it's not something you're thinking. It's something that you just know and it's pulling you like a magnet. It's pulling you. It's irresistible. Know that this also is the law at work, universal law. It is that which we cannot not do. And so we are being drawn along with the tide, and there is nothing to do but proceed. On March 30th, Neptune, the planet that has to do with our highest ideals, our vision of the future, will enter the sign of Aries. It will return briefly to Pisces at the end of the year, end of 2025. But this ingress into Aries is something of a turning point. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and when a major planet enters this sign, as it is now about to, there is a resurgence of raw energy heralding a rebirth. But from where we have been standing with Neptune in this very last degree of Pisces, that anaretic 29th degree, we cannot yet see what that all looks like. In the very last degree of its 164-65 year journey, we would expect a sloughing off. That was snake medicine, the sloughing off, maybe a sadness, emotional despair. We stand on the threshold of what may come, while not knowing what that entirely is. So, in some way, we are all being asked to take a leap of faith. One would say a quantum leap of faith. Even though there is no reason to have faith, and to have hope even in the face of what looks like utter destruction. When Neptune finally crosses over into Aries on the 30th of March, like an infant fresh from the womb, totally invested with this new life force, we are needing to trust the process and take hold. See, remember, this is about crossing the threshold, is about up and over into the unknown, into the new world, the world before us, the one that came before us and the one before us. This isn't stand with our knees rattling and teeth chattering in fear and or in ignorance and trying to cleave to the past. The past is behind us. We're standing at the threshold. We're at the doorway. It's open. It's right there. All we need to do is walk over it, walk through it. And think of that, you know, in matrimony too, the bride and the groom and being carried over the threshold and whatever. There's this whole sense of newness of what awaits us on the other side. Astrology by Lauren, she continues, in 1861, there were 34 states in America. 11 of these united to secede from the United States and form their own Confederate Union. The reason for this secession was due to slavery. In the years preceding the American Civil War, there was a growing movement to abolish slavery, known as the abolitionist movement. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected by a strong margin, even though he was not included in all the states. So this is again Here's the last time that Neptune was in Aries. This is occurring. Lincoln's anti-slavery stance did not bode well for the states that relied on a slave-based economy. So think about that. At that time, a slave-based economy. One could say with all of this commercialism and capitalism and this um, enslavement to the stock market, to corporations, that this slave-based economy, yes, Kiki, God gave us Lincoln. Yes. So look at this. See, we're in a similar, again, astrology is cyclical. It's not identical, but it's cyclical. And so here we are again. We find ourselves enslaved. And those that are in power, multimillionaires, billionaires, corporations, well, this we the people Aquarian age doesn't bode well for a slave-based economy. But from the time of Nat Turner's rebellion in 1831 up until 1860, the trend was obvious and inescapable. And while Neptune was in Pisces, the abolitionist movement gained traction, not only in the United States, but worldwide. The same is true today. This liberation from these patriarchal, divine masculine, shadow aspects that keep us enslaved, instead of liberating us of allowing our true nature to thrive and succeed. The Civil War officially broke out when Neptune was at 29 degrees Pisces 57 arc minutes, when a bunch of Confederate soldiers overran Fort Sumter, a Union fort outpost in South Carolina, a slave-holding state. This was on April 12th. On April 14th, Neptune entered Aries. And on April 15th, Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers to join the Union Army. And so, the rest was history. Neptune in Pisces is the very definition of compassion welling up from within. Neptune in Aries is defined as putting that compassion into action. Aries is a war sign. There is no denying this. But how most people remember the result of the American Civil War is that it ended slavery. One will say that the same will occur. It's just modern day slavery, enslavement to corporations, institutions, peoples that want to disrespect, hold back, keep down 8 billion souls. Well, there are 8 billion. So if the highest percentage is 1%, the rest, and this isn't a political statement, this is a soul statement. This is a statement of truth, of purity. We are innately empowered, divine beings with limitless potential. No one should oppress or suppress another or keep them back or held down. We should all be celebrating and supporting and collaborating in a positive way for each of our success, for our joy, for our divinity. Astrology by Lauren, she concludes, war does not need to take on a violent form. There are different ways to engage in what could feel like a war of ideals. But what cannot be denied when Neptune enters Aries this time around is that we will see something of a sea change. We had that exact phrasing, a sea change. I will post it in the Dearjames Facebook page comments. The Unseen used that exact phrase, a sea change. For this is when we feel the necessity to fight for what is right, to fight for our ideals and make them manifest. We will feel it in our bones. Aries brings the necessity to do something. Do something. It's number 3 from the unseen, truth and devotion. Nothing less will suffice. Nothing less will do. And there was a play on the word do, D-O, do. See, Aries brings the necessity to do something. Well, truth and devotion, nothing less will do, will suffice, will do. And then D-U-E, do, it's what's due. It's what's necessary. So it's both what we do as an action, and it's what's due, meaning of the moment, of the time. This truth and devotion. Truth is my devotion. The truth will set you free. To act and promulgate truth, because it's what delivers us. So Aries brings the necessity to do something, to courageously take some sort of action, and to have faith in our highest and most relevant dreams, come what may. You don't have to be on the front line of a picket line, or you can simply be on the front line of your own truth, your own story, your own life, and make a firm choice, a firm decision to do something. And that do something is truth and devotion. Devotion to truth. Devotion to your soul source connection, your highest octave, your highest self, your highest ideal. That alone shifts the universe. Because when each of us does it, it's a massive ripple effect. And here, Astrology by Lauren, and to have faith in our highest and most relevant dreams, come what may. Just know that by the time all the outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, have officially changed signs and create this incredibly supportive fire-air cradle of energetic action, because they will be in fire and air, signs that are ruled by fire and air, our world will never be quite the same again. Stay tuned. We all have a lot of work ahead of us. But first, we are being shown who we are. So we're in this moment of self-reflection, of self-denial. And are we choosing to see the truth? Are we choosing to see ourselves and then marry it with truth and devotion? Nothing less will suffice, nothing less will do, and it is what is due, D-U-E. It's what's due. It's what's required. It's what's necessary. So it's both our action and what's required of us. So, and let's move to acts of service. It's number 4 from the unseen, and it's foundational, acts of service. They said, quote, the new it thing. And then there was this realization. So the acts of service are the new it thing. And yet they were saying, the unseen was saying past, present, future, meaning it has always been this. This is, and so acts of service. This is where Matthew 25 comes in. So Matthew 25 was part of the total lunar eclipse, be ready, hummingbird medicine, the beginning part of Matthew 25. Well, now here the unseen is bringing it back as a bookend. It's the end. It's Matthew 25, 31, 46. It's number 4, acts of service, the new it thing. And yet it has always been this. And they said in Matthew 25, 31, 46, Jesus speaks of the final judgment and separates the righteous from the unrighteous based on their acts of service. This isn't false acts of service. This is genuine, authentic acts of service. You don't buy your way in. You can't lie your way in. So here, Jesus speaks of the final judgment and separates the righteous from the unrighteous based on their acts of service. He commends those who fed the hungry, gave drink to the thirsty, welcomed the stranger, clothed the naked, cared for the sick, and visited the imprisoned. And there's a moment there where they ask, well, when did we do this for you, Master Jesus? And he said, every time you saw me in another and you fed them, you gave them a drink, you welcomed them, you clothed them, you cared for them, you visited them, because we're divine. So the divine family is within us. We are within the divine family. And it speaks about how our our greatest strength is when we care for the least among us. It's not when we harm them. And so with this Matthew 2025, there's also it's Proverbs 3:27, and it's our first quote. Do not withhold good. It's Proverbs 3:27. Do not withhold good. And in the image, you see this skeleton key. It's like a mystical antique key with golden light, and it's laying on a bed of grains of sand. This do not withhold good is as ancient, it's time immemorial. It is about doing acts of service, doing good, and that it is the key that unlocks everything. And as many grains of sand, as many stars in the heaven, the number of souls. And there's one simple truth, and there's one simple key. Do good. Because again, Matthew 25, final judgment separates the righteous from the unrighteous based on their acts of service. Genuine, authentic acts of service. They cannot be manipulated acts. They cannot be illicit acts. They cannot be dishonest acts. It's got to be authentic, true. You genuinely desire to help another, not for what you can get, not for what they need or how it makes you feel. Remember, dog medicine. But because in that moment of truth, of purity, you see yourself, you see the divine, and you do good acts of service, the new it thing. But it's not the new it thing. It's the thing. And that's the point that the unseen is making with item number 4. Let's move to because this is a moment associated with these eclipses and with this complete, as we had here, a thorough purge and release with these eclipses and all of these CAZIMIS and everything. Well, there's also this aspect of justice. And here's the Lady Justice from the tarot, card number 11. And the Justice card in the tarot is a symbol of truth, fairness, and law. As she sits in her chair, the scales in her left hand represent how intuition should balance the accounts. It's about you are being called to account for your actions and will be judged accordingly. So there's this aspect of judgment. And the Justice card indicates that the fairest decision will be made. Justice is the sword that cuts through a situation and will not be swayed by outer beauty when deciding what is fair and just. See, there's an aspect of, Master Jesus, Matthew 20:25, this, the righteous and the unrighteous. There's nothing, we can never hide from the unseen, from the host, the master weaver, the divine family, the all that is. They see everything. They know everything. And they will not be swayed by outer beauty when deciding what is fair and just. The figure in the Justice card holds two objects, a scale in one hand as a symbol of balance, and a sword in the other to exemplify the preservation of that equilibrium, even by means of force. So the host, the unseen, the master weaver, the all that is, the justice is preserved. That equilibrium is preserved even if by means of force. Because to do otherwise, we're imbalanced. So we have this aspect playing out about justice in the Justice card. But now I just want to conclude with hexagram 26. It's about controlled power. Its action is to amplify. Its hidden influence is propriety, and its underlining cause is gathering together, network. So we're in this moment of being rise up, dog medicine, stay loyal and true to yourself, to your soul self, call out crime. It's in unity, it's communities. And here, hexagram 26. The firm is able to keep strength still. This is great correctness. Much time is spent preparing for and delivering your response. Only when you are not defending do you activate the controlled power of the great. So we don't need, the truth speaks for itself. We don't need to defend things. You can change what the world will look and feel like by approaching it differently. Acquaint yourself with the teachings of antiquity, and you will see how desire can both draw in experience or close you to it. Approaching the gateway of perception or the threshold of perception, you make the choice of what you will find. And this is from Carrie Hone at cafeosoul.com. The master said, do not listen with your ears, but listen with your mind. Do not listen with your mind, but listen with your vital force, your soul. Ordinary hearing does not go beyond the ears and the mind, and does not go beyond its symbols. Your vital force is not wanting, but waiting. See, it's about the ego mind personality, the human. It can't get beyond what it knows or its symbols, its experiences. The soul transcends everything. It's why we call it a knowing. You can get in a complete understanding in a nanosecond, in a knowing. So your vital force, your soul, is not wanting, it's waiting. Life brings together all that is void to itself. Be empty, that is all. Thus you can master things and not be injured by them. When you tame your desires, stand at the threshold, connect with your te or vital force, your soul, and simply observe. Find comfort in your strength. It's in your knowing. Transforming the illusion of how you must conquer and take. And look at all this conquering and taking. Panama, Greenland, this mineral, this force, that force. Transforming the illusion of how you must conquer and take. That's Piscean, patriarchal, shadow. You can develop the powerful peacefulness that comes when you no longer see the world as a place of obstacles. Life's secret is that it has been committed to your success since the beginning. Mystery upon mystery, the gateway of its manifold secrets. To take no action that is unnatural to your instinctive nature, dog medicine, ensures that you will meet with no resistance. This is our second quote. Overcoming others shows force. When you overcome yourself, you are strong. It's when we're willing to speak truth to ourselves, willing to see the truth, willing to accept it, own, atone, release. We own it, we atone for it, we release it. And the image is of this beautiful waterfall, water, because water always seeks its level, and it goes unobstructed. It has no obstacles. Generating movement, even in the hardest things, is how the great is tamed. Creating movement, even in the greatest things, is what makes Tao mysteriously powerful. Tao, the way. The most submissive thing in the world can ride roughshod over the hardest in the world. That which is without substance enters that which has no crevices. Beyond the constant disillusionment that results from trying to be who you are not, there are no crevices or valleys. This is the essence of controlled power. So this controlled power is about aligning yourself with your soul. Your soul is the water, the waterfall, the life force, the living waters. It knows exactly where to go. There are no obstacles. It doesn't require defending because it only knows truth, true north. It's pure. And this is the moment we find ourselves in, where the moon takes a bite out of the sun, takes a bite out of crime. So the divine feminine taking a bite out of the divine masculine, meaning the shadow. Ready or not, a partial solar eclipse, dog medicine. The truth will set you free. It is a spiritual liberation. We will see it manifest in the physical because that's the most dense form. However, it starts within, it starts on high. And then as we see it cascade and the water just wiping out the obstructions, because to our mantra, truth is my devotion, and nothing less will suffice, nothing less will do, and it's what is due at this moment. And then finally, again, acts of service, the new it thing. Well, these acts of service about not withholding good. Do good. Align with good. Align with your soul source connection, because that is where all of this is leading, and justice is at hand. This, and I just, by the way, devotion to truth. And this is from Veritas Publishing. It's from Sir David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD, and Susan Hawkins. One's commitment should be to God, higher hand, source, the all that is, and truth only. Teachers are to be respected, but devotion should be restricted to only the truth. As Buddha said, put no head above your own, meaning that one's only true guru is the self, the Buddha nature, meaning the soul self. The self of the teacher and one's own self are one and the same. The teacher becomes a source of inspiration and information. It is the inspiration that supports the quest. Does spiritual commitment mean one has to give up the world? No, of course not. It means merely that worldly life needs to be recontextualized, restructured, and envisioned differently. This is the threshold we are upon. This is Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius. Saturn is moving into Aries. Jupiter will go into Cancer, and Uranus goes into, I'll tell you, I'm drawing a blank, but I'll tell you. It is not the world that is a trap, but one's attachment to it. This is all the cleaving. See, there's an attachment to the world that was, to the era that was. So it's not the world that is a trap, but one's attachment to it. What's the definition of suffering? Attachment. So it is not the world that is a trap, but one's attachment to it, along with one's observations that cloud the search for truth, for the truth. So again, let us release our attachments. Let us commit to truth. Let it be our devotion. And let us recontextualize, restructure, and re-envision differently the world before us. Because it's the one before us. The one that's passing away, it's going away. It's been there, done that. It's done. Thank you all so much. Thank you for bearing in with me this Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, the eclipses, and so forth. Did a major number, but here we are. We came live. The messages have been delivered, and I look forward to seeing all of you next week as we launch into the month of April of 2025. And again, there's a major lineup at the end of this month. There's more astrological activities, as above, so below. It's all moving us into, kind of between that mid-March to mid-May, this 90-day window. Woo! And as they said in one of the previous shows, Proud Mary, we're starting nice and rough. We're going to finish nice and easy. So be ready or not, here we are. Love you all. We'll see you next week. Until then, be well and be safe.